Hi, my name's Sasha Weiss. I'm a junior studying computer science at Northwestern University. This is my fall quarter 2016 wrap-up for the MicroReminders project, which is part of the Design Technology Research Program, DTR, at Northwestern, part of the Delta Lab. So agenda for this video, I'm going to give a brief breakdown of what MicroReminders is, describe what I did this quarter, show a demo of my most current prototype, and then talk about some of the results of a study I just ran with that prototype. So at a high level, MicroReminders is a research project in DTR with the goal of getting people to do more stuff, or understanding how to encourage people to get more things done. In particular, what we're targeting right now are small, around-the-house 1-minute tasks that we're calling microtasks, which in the future, we want to think about how do we scaffold microtasks into helping people accomplish large, complex, abstract goals like read a book or be healthier, build a website, sort of things that are not really targeted or accomplished by existing reminders apps or existing task tracking apps. Building on that, this quarter, what I did last quarter, if you check out the video from last quarter, I built a prototype. Most of that got scrapped. We rewrote most of the app from the ground up. There were a lot of usability issues in the previous iteration that came up when I gave it out to some users. Most of the app ended up being rebuilt. So I spent most of this quarter building that tech, migrating to Swift 3, taking advantage of some of the iOS 10 notification features. In particular, what I was focusing on was the core design feature of the 2.0 is pre-populated task lists. So providing people with example tasks when they open the app. So they open the app, they're going to enter their own tasks. One, we needed to make that process a lot simpler and sort of a catalyst for that. So we wanted to help people think about their tasks, but also be able to sort of very quickly select common tasks, example task lists. So what we did is I put out a survey at the beginning of the quarter to the students in DTR to collect some common micro tasks. And then those formed the basis of these examples, right? Then we needed an interface to display them and for people to be able to select them. So I spent a while building that. Again, sort of scrapped everything, went ground up, which was a blast. Did a little bit of iteration, focusing on usability. Towards the end of the quarter, designed a pilot study and put the app out to a couple of users, 3 users. It was initially going to be 4. One of them was unfortunately unable to complete the study. But yeah, so got some great feedback and some great ideas for future micro-reminding work from that, and I'll talk about that in a minute. But next, I'm going to show a demo. So if we go ahead and open the app, what we see are these 4 categories. I took the pre-populated task lists that I was talking about, and I broke them into these 4 categories. Others got nothing in it. And if we click on one of them, we see these lists, and all of these are all tasks that I collected from the survey I ran earlier in the quarter with DTR students trying to collect some sort of common micro tasks. What you'll notice is they each have a description, a little add button, and also a suggested or estimated time for completion. All of them are under a minute, hence being microtask. What we're trying to do there is also encourage people to think about tasks in this sort of 1-minute sense. Importantly, you'll remember that from last quarter, each of these tasks is associated with a location, which we determined using an Estimate iBeacon, which are little Bluetooth beacons that talk to your phone. So when you click to add a task, it throws up this dialog, and these are all of the locations that I've built into the app for this particular user. It changes by user, and you can pick a location to associate a task with a location. And then what happens is when you enter that region, it sends you a notification for it. So you'll see, let's pick, what are we going to pick? All right, we picked living room for hang up my keys. And you'll see it takes us to this task, like this list of your tasks, right? And you can see it's got both of them are in the cleaning category. But if we were to go back, pick another category, wellness, so drink a glass of water. Let's mark that for the kitchen. You'll notice it's broken out into those categories. Obviously, also importantly, what happens if we want to add our own custom tasks? You can click that little plus in the upper right corner. You can type out my custom task, associate that with a location as well, let's say bedroom, and then you can see all of those will appear on your list in the different locations that you picked. Importantly, you can see here little checkboxes, right? So if you tap on it, you can mark a task done, drops to the bottom of the list, grays out, so you can track both your completed tasks and your incomplete tasks. In particular, you click on the checkbox again. Obviously, you can unmark it, add it back, make a copy, throw it back on your incomplete list. We thought the tracking would be really important, in particular if we later want to work on scaffolding. Right, being able to track the tasks is going to be increasingly important. Track what you've finished and what you haven't finished, what categories they belong to, etc. And so you saw we had some tasks for the kitchen and living room. So what we're going to do now, I've put beacons around my own house, and we're going to go take a field trip and see what those notifications look like. And we're back. So where we are, we've got our tasks. Oh, brightness. So you can see we've got those same tasks that we were talking about with a couple marked for the kitchen. So what we're going to do now is we're going to take a field trip to Sasha's kitchen. I'll show you where the beacon I put in the kitchen is, and we'll see a notification. We can take a look at what that looks like as well. Oh, yeah, there we go. So, just got the notification. As we walked into the kitchen, we've got a little beacon just sort of sitting on a ledge there. And you know what? I'm actually going to plug back in so we can look at this notification more clearly. So here you can see the notification, hang up my keys. If you remember carefully, that was actually one I marked for the living room. Full disclosure, I also have beacons in the living room, and it was not the kitchen one that triggered, but in fact the living room. But you can see if we swipe over, you've got a couple options. View or clear, right? iOS 10. If you go in here, you can either mark the task done or you can snooze it. If you snooze it, it goes back into the pool of available tasks and the notification disappears. If you mark it done, it goes into that task list, it's grayed out, and it's taken out of the available task pool. It's marked done. Fun fact, clearing and snoozing sort of behind the scenes mean more or less the same thing, but done is very important. So if we go back into the app, what we see now in the task list, we have to reload, hold on. Sorry. Is that it shows up grayed out, hang up my keys is now there, off the task list because we marked it done. And if we wanted to, we could reactivate it. Let's pick a new location. Let's put it in the kitchen this time. Yeah, and that's more or less the core functionality of the app that was deployed to users for the study, which I'll describe in the next section. Study I ran, the way I did that is I gave my 3 users a pre-study survey that they filled out, asking them about their task app usage. Then I gave each of them a build of the app configured for beacons specific to each of them, 3 beacons per user, so 3 locations per user. A couple of people put them in their car, but otherwise they place the beacons in like a kitchen or a bathroom or a bedroom around their apartment. And then I had them use the app for a week, checked in with them a little bit throughout the week, and then at the end of the week I did in-person exit interviews with each of them, asked them the same set of questions. A couple important findings that I got from that feedback. The example task list, they really did encourage adding microtasks. All 3 users reported they really liked the examples. They felt that they were very relevant examples to them individually. Although they were general task lists, all of them got the same one, but they found things on the list that they found relevant to them, and they really liked that they could select them off that list. So 24 tasks were entered over the course of the week by the 3, which is a good number, but 20 of those were straight off of the list. Only 4 of them were custom written, which is indicative of the task list being, one user described it as general enough to make him think about other things in his life, but specific enough that he could use them as is. All 3 users did also report that it made them think about other things that were not on the list that they could potentially write down as custom tasks. Location context was the other thing I was really trying to evaluate in this study. The previous study was sort of plagued by tech bugs and usability issues, but this time I really wanted to see if location context was helpful for people in accomplishing these tasks that they wrote down. And they all agreed that location was very important to their task completion. There were other factors they also discussed. They tended to say that when they were notified in the correct location, they were more likely to do it, but it would also depend frequently on the time of day and other external factors, such as one user was talking about his mood. If he just didn't feel like it, he wouldn't do it. But they all agreed that location was critical. Without location, they couldn't do the task. That said, when they got the notifications at the locations correctly. So notifications were erratic and they were more frequent than expected. Certainly more frequent than I had anticipated. The 15-minute cutoff didn't always hold true. It held true almost always, but there were cases in which there were re-notifications. That's going to need some more testing and some more looking into. So even with that, 2 of the users reported they did not feel over-notified. One said that he did feel over-notified, but it was not the end of the world. He said when users felt over-notified or when they were getting erroneous notifications, they said unilaterally that they were not going to complete the task. So if they got the location at the wrong, or the notification at the wrong location, 0 chance of them doing it. That said, one user said, sort of interestingly, that getting notifications sort of very frequently at least put the task in her mind, and she was more likely to think of it even without the notification. Another very interesting piece of feedback was that people tended not to open the app. So they would open it at the beginning of the study and they would put in a bunch of tasks, but of those 24 tasks, pretty much almost all of them were done in initial pushes. The first big task entrance, rather than over the course of the week. People didn't think to write down their tasks as they went for a couple of reasons. One user reported a barrier to entry. They just didn't want to have to open the app to write things down. They said if there was a widget or a Siri integration for voice adding or quick adding tasks, they would certainly be more likely to add things as they thought of them. The other user said they just forgot that they could open the app because they were consistently getting notifications for things they'd already entered, and because they hadn't necessarily completed those tasks yet, they were not incentivized to write down new things. That said, some tasks did get done. Of the 24, 9 were marked completed, which was actually much more than I had initially expected. Part of this was, and of those 9, sort of going back to the location context, all the users reported when they completed a task, they were at the correct location. They got notified of it outside of that location, and maybe they would think of it, but they wouldn't do it, but then they would be in the location, get a notification, and I think it sort of worked as we'd hoped in a lot of cases, which is kind of cool to hear. All of those points, though, sort of speak to a couple areas for development in the future and things I need to think about a little bit more. The beacon-based notifications need to be refined, and they also need to be expanded. Location is not the only thing that I can consider anymore. Time of day is just too important. All 3 users reported that. At least being able to say, remind me at this location after a certain time, or other time-based factors. So that needs to be expanded. I need to do some more testing and find out exactly what's going on with the erroneous notifications. The selectable microtasks obviously were very helpful. People picked a lot of them off the list. They felt they were relevant. They accomplished them. Custom task writing was limited. People didn't write as many tasks as they just picked off the list, and they didn't write them consistently, like I was talking about. So that's something I'm going to need to look into, some UI features, or another thought in addition to like a widget or a Siri integration is simply to send notifications to remind people, do you have any things that you want to get done today? And ask them to write them down as they go. The users didn't say they felt unwilling to use the app, they just forgot to use it. In particular, if they had other reminder systems that they were used to using, they would default to those. And the other really cool thing, I think, and this is sort of speaking to a larger future point, the tasks seem generalizable across users, right? We gave all 3 users the same list of example tasks, and they got a lot of them done, and they picked a lot of them off, and they liked a lot of them. What that suggests is that, by no means were these task lists complete. I couldn't hope to do that myself. I'm not them. I don't know what they want to do, and they being users in general. What it could suggest, and a cool potential crowdsourcing opportunity, is if people enter custom tasks, maybe those tasks can be consolidated and distributed out to other people's task lists so that they get sort of a cycling suggested task sort of deal, or there's a task feed where you can pick off things you might not think of initially but might still be useful. An interesting piece of feedback was that people had difficulty thinking of their own tasks. They saw the task list, they liked them, they could pick things off, but they weren't sure what else to enter. Maybe like a power of knowledge thing. I'm not sure. They saw the task, they saw these tasks, they liked them, but they weren't sure what to add to it. This could be a good opportunity, right? Somebody does write something down, it can be shown to another person, they can just pick it off the list, and they get something new without the difficulty of thinking of these new tasks. So in conclusion, while not without their flaws, pre-populated task lists and location-based reminders, as they were implemented here, they were effective at encouraging users to document tasks and reminding them to complete the tasks. And I got a lot of great feedback this quarter. I'm very excited to take those ideas, think about them a little bit over break, and figure out what direction I want to go in the winter. Thank you for watching. Again, I'm Sasha. This is the MicroReminders project. See you next quarter.